Do you want a Nimrod deck that can take you all the way infinite? This is it. This is the best Nimrod deck out there. We tried a lot of different Nimrod decks. This was the package that we took all the way to infinite. This deck takes the Shuri package and adds a few little tweaks to it to get Nimrod some interesting gameplay. So it allows for a couple different ways to play out the game. Unlike with Shuri, you kind of just have that one path of Shuri, big card, copy the big card, or arrow for the win. This deck does have that option as well, but then you also have the Nimrod option. So that means after you play a Shuri card out and on turn 5, you play Nimrod, and then you can also play Destroyer or Arnim Zola or just Arrow or Red Skull or Taskmaster. You have a bunch of different options on the last turn. Nimrod being played out, though, you're generally going to be playing out with the Arnim Zola or Destroyer on the final turn to destroy the Nimrod and place it in the other locations to kind of trick your opponent. A lot of people were running Nimrod in like a Galactus package, so a lot of people when they see Nimrod come down are going to be worried about Galactus, especially if you're running this Electro in your deck like we have here. So this Electro can also trick some people into thinking you're running a Galactus list when really you just got Armzol and Destroyer, and they might play suboptimally around this deck. I think it is very, very strong because you can still do the traditional Shuri things where you Shuri into a big card into copying it with Taskmaster, which just is enough a lot of times. You run the Armor and the Cosmo just for that Shuri play where you can play Cosmo, you can play Shuri, and then you play your big card into the Cosmo lane, making your opponent not able to arrow you to the lane that you played the big card into. And then you also can just freely play out your Taskmaster into another lane after that, and you don't have to worry about Shang-Chi either. One good thing about Nimrod is also you don't have to worry about Shang-Chi. So if you don't have the Armor or the Cosmo down in the lane and you want a Nimrod out, you don't have to worry about it getting Shang-Chi, because if they do, it creates 2 more Nimrods in the other lanes. It just never dies. So it's a very good deck. We played it all the way to infinite, like I already said. But yeah, let's hop into some games and see how it plays out. So with this deck, as we can see, we have the Nimrod. I will say you probably play Nimrod less in this deck than you do play like Red Skull or Arrow or even like Destroyer with your Shuri a lot of times. But you know, a lot of times I like to save my Nimrod for Shuri, but we do have Project Pegasus out. Do I give him the info that we have Nimrod in our deck? I think it's fine. We can play it onto Stark Tower. The Nimrod can get the buff. I think I'm going to get the Sunspot 2 power buff here instead of a Lizard. So Magneto doesn't give us too much information. All right, now we can Lizard if we want, but I think I still just want to pump the Sunspot up. Maybe a bad idea, considering he runs Killmonger in his deck. We do have Shuri. So Shuri means we can Red Skull Taskmaster potentially. So I would probably have snapped before playing Shuri because this is just a very, very strong play here. Playing a Red Skull out. He got either a Red Skull, Taskmaster, or Arrow. We need to get priority, so we have to play it in one of these 2 lanes and hope it's enough. I'm going to play in the lane with less cards, so it gets less Red Skull buffs. All right, it's the same amount. All right, and he did... Yeah, so he played very smart here. He played to the right, giving him guaranteed priority for this final turn. So he can arrow us mid. Luckily, we have the Arnim Zola, so I think this is the play because it is unlikely that he is going to do anything but arrow mid here. Again, we don't snap in these games just to keep it so people aren't retreating. As expected, the arrow came mid. Arnim Zola is less common in Shuri decks nowadays, but I would think he might expect it with a Nimrod, but he did not. So we took him out there pretty easily, predicted, and it was even our arrow. So we do have Sunspot again, turn 1. Say hello. Pretty good there. So we don't have the Nimrod. I would like to do some cool Nimrod stuff, but that does require drawing Nimrod. Generally, you want the Shuri Nimrod into Arnim Zola or Destroyer. We're going to see if we can make that happen. So you can always play the Nimrod into nowhere and then hope for Destroyer, but since we have Arnim Zola in hand, if we end up getting Nimrod before we play out this Shuri, we're probably not going to play it there just because we want to be able to Arnim Zola it. So one thing with the Arnim Zola play, it will create 2 Nimrods in the locations that you don't play it at. So ideally, you want 2 spots open, and you also want to make sure that you leave your Nimrod as the only card in that lane. Double armor means that we're probably going to be playing our card into Shuri's lab. So I can't play Shuri into nowhere here because on reveals don't work. I don't want to play it into Shuri's lab in case I want to Arnim Zola our card. If we draw Nimrod, I'm going to play that over Red Skull. Just because Red Skull is Shang-Chi-able. But I think we should have priority going into this final turn. So I think we should be okay. Because I don't think we currently are tied. So they got the 50-50 priority. So if they also play Red Skull on the right, it will go again to a 50-50. So I think it's fine. And again, I probably would snap these Shuri turns, but they also played Shuri. It's a complete mirror matchup right now. We've played all the same exact cards. So it comes down to a 50-50 pretty much right here. Who wins the game? Alright, we won the 50-50. Our deck doesn't run as many 1-drops as a traditional Shuri list. So if they have Taskmaster plus a 1-drop, we technically lose. Actually, he can't play his Taskmaster left, but he can play his 1-drop there. We can't beat a Taskmaster mid. We're currently tied over here. If we had a 1-drop, we would always be able to win. I think we have to snap here to guarantee the win, because I think if we snap, since we got the priority, they will leave. But I don't think we actually win this game. I am going to just Arnim Zola, though, if he doesn't leave. Because he has to have Taskmaster plus a 1-drop to win. But he will win with that. And he will win. He has to play Taskmaster mid is the thing. I think he might leave, though. Because the priority means that if we have Arrow plus a 1-drop, we always win. Okay, so we probably lose here with the Taskmaster mid. Yep. Alright, so we stole the Daredevil knowing that he has Daredevil. I don't really care if he sees us playing Nimrod, I guess. But if he's playing Daredevil, he might have a Professor X in his hand, so maybe we do care a little bit. So I think I might just play Daredevil out to stop his Daredevil. Oh, Goose. This might be Cerebro 2 if it's Goose. So we could play Electro out since we just top deck Destroyer. And then we can play Nimrod into Destroyer into Taskmaster. Should generally be a win. Okay. I think I played Nimrod mid. I doubt he plays into mid here. DC is kind of not great for us. Looks like he's running a Surfer list. Not Cerebro. Oh, actually, it could be Cerebro 2, but he just kind of screwed himself with DC if it is Cerebro 2. Because we've seen Daredevil, Goose, and Brood. So if I do this, I can then Arnim Zola the Nimrod back. It's not bad. With Sarah, this is, we might end up getting Shang-Chi, but we do have priority right now. So we do have Taskmaster for 15. We'd only do it over here. I think it's harder to compete for over here. We do have this, but you see, the thing is, if we do compete for over here, we do have the armor to be able to block this, but we're only at 20 over here. So if he does have Surfer, we have to worry about 6 plus maybe another 3. And he might also have Juggernaut or something. So I think this is fine. It should probably be good. He didn't play anything over there, so we would have won the right with the Taskmaster play. Well, let's see if there's enough. It's gonna be close. That's Surfer we lost. Yeah. Yeah, so the correct play here was to play the Taskmaster and armor. Yeah, in that last game, it really came down to the 50-50 of where he played the Maximus out, because he could have played the Maximus on the right or the left. I guess we could have figured that he was not playing to the left because of the goose, or that he was playing left because of the goose, since he figured we could not play a big card there, so he felt more comfortable playing his big cards left and winning that lane. So we could have played the Taskmaster, I think, and been a little bit safer. So if we play armor here, we're drawing Vibranium potentially later on. Vibranium is not terrible for us. I do want to block his hood, but if he's playing a Viper deck, this becomes worse. Might be Viper, because he just snapped us. So I'm going to not play the armor over there. That way we have the Destroyer play later on. Not Viper, just playing out the hood and another card. Okay. Bar Sinister is not great for us, I will say. Yeah, it's not looking good for us. I'm gonna have to play into Atlantis here. He's gonna draw a lot of Vibranium. I'm not sure why I would snap a Demon Iceman play. Alright, we have Nimrod. So here's one tricky thing you can do with this deck. You can play Nimrod out and bait them into thinking that you are a Galactus deck. So since you just filled up the right, we know he can't arrow us left on the last turn. So we do have the potential to just play out Nimrod here, which technically wins us the right as well if he doesn't have blue marble. But this is how you bait a win. So you can play Nimrod here, and then you can snap on the final turn, and they will probably concede thinking you have Galactus when you don't even have it. But even still, without Galactus, we can still win this game with a Destroyer mid, potentially, which is 16 power, as long as he doesn't have blue marble. So we're just going to snap, play Destroyer. It doesn't look like enough, and it probably is not enough. But if they think we have Galactus, they'll probably leave, because of 3 Nimrods plus Galactus will beat this because all the Khazars die. So if this guy thinks about the game, understands what we could potentially have, he should leave the game. And there we go. Victory. Playing Sunspot out turn 1, always a good play. And by always, I mean not always. Sometimes you might want to hold it back, depending on what you've seen so far. Playing into Westview is just like playing into an unrevealed location a lot of times. The peak with Armzola and Shuri is not awful. I'm going to play Cosmo into Westview. This means that we can only Arnim Zola, right? I'm still going to Shuri turn 4. Oh, Sinister London. Would have been nice. We're going to Shuri here. We can copy the Red Skull on the left. Unfortunately, we don't have Nimrod. Alright, so we want our Red Skull to end up in the peak location. They skipped, so we have priority, so we always win the game. Unfortunately for them, we have Arrow. Like, we don't even need the Arnim Zola here. They should leave the game, probably. They could have a peaked Taskmaster, peaked Zola. I'm tempted to just Arrow Sinister London. I am very tempted. The only thing with arrowing Sinister London is if they play 3 cards, it only pulls 2 of them to the middle if we end up going middle. And if I did that, I'd probably play Arnim Zola over here to just make sure. Like, we don't need the extra power there. So, probably copy our Arnim Zola because it's in the Cosmo lane, in the armor lane, it's fine. And then we just play the arrow over here. So I don't know how they were ever planning on winning with She-Hulk Taskmaster there. Nimrod in our opening hand, we just need a Shuri and an Arnim Zola or Destroyer. Let's see if we can get a cool Nimrod game. Alright, we got Arnim Zola. You don't need Shuri for Nimrod. Like, Nimrod Arnim is still a 20 power play over 2 turns, which is pretty good. 10 in 2 lanes. I think I'm gonna armor up our Grand Central. Danger Room's pretty good for Nimrod because you might have a chance of just destroying it straight up. We want a top deck Shuri here. We have a 1 in 6. Looks like a Galactus deck. Means we have to try and get priority from them before next turn. It's gonna look difficult here. We're gonna play Lizard to the left here. It's gonna be, he has to play a card 5 or bigger into Atlantis to maintain. He might be able to do it. He did it. Oh, maybe not. Order here, come on. Alright, we didn't get the Arnim Zola, unfortunately, and we wasted our arrow. So, this game looks pretty bad here. We do, however, have arrow down. This game is probably a loss, because we're about to get Galactus to mid. And we can't Shang-Chi a null. Probably a loss. It is better to full skip here, probably. Yeah, there's no reason not to full skip here and play out Electro. In case he doesn't Galactus us, but, oh, it's wave? Alright, no Galactus, alright. Interesting. And the cloak. And we have Cosmo as well. So he's allowing us to move a card. He can move 10 power mid going to 17. He probably leaves not having Galactus, right? I doubt he would stay in this game. So he stacked up enough power mid to beat us. And he played Death out, which died. Risky play by him. Trying to play for the danger room. Because you know what? The danger room is ours. So one of the main things I like about this deck is being able to play out a couple different lines, which keeps your opponents on their toes. Where you can play Nimrod or Red Skull depending on, like, if the locations end up being locations you can't get into. Nimrod becomes very handy. It's similar to like a Doctor Doom, but it's a little bit better if you can get the Shuri off on it. And also, it becomes a little bit better because it's unclear to your opponent where the cards are going to go a lot of times. And now if we top deck, all right, we drew Taskmaster. I was going to say if we have Arnhem, I am going to Shuri over here, giving us priority potentially.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here.
So Spider-Man is great if we can top deck Arnhem. No Arnhem. It's a little bit... It feels like it's a Galactus Thanos list, potentially. They play the Time Stone this turn, so I'm expecting Galactus this turn. So it might just be... They can't play Galactus in the Dark Dimension, though. Yeah, Dark Dimension kind of ruins Galactus. So we don't have to worry about that. I really did want to play Nimrod into Arnhem. We technically draw a Destroyer as well. 50-50 to get Arnhem or the Destroyer. I think this play seems not as good now. Okay. So unfortunately, it's not looking good for us because they have Quinjet. They can block up the left. They can play for mid. I assume they play their biggest card left. If we play anything left right now, it'll take the Shuri buff. If we full skip, he has to play a card that is at least 9. Seems likely he can do that. If we play Arrow and he wastes his big card on the left, we're okay with the middle because he only has 3 stones left, which can only total 5. So I think we just play Arrow and hope. Alright, so we have to get the big card out of these 3. I'm not sure if we did it. Nope. So we probably lost. Shang-Chi plus Soulstone. That's a tie middle. Nice. His big card was just Shang-Chi. Which I guess he did not realize that he had priority. Or that was just his best card in his hand. He might be running just... I do think that this is just a Galactus list that didn't draw Galactus or couldn't play Galactus out because of Dark Dimension. Because it's running Spider-Man and Shang-Chi in their deck. So it's probably just doesn't have... It might have Valkyrie as well. It looks like. Alright, here's the final game. Hopefully we'll get to do some cool Nimrod stuff. Oh man, I would totally snap an Altar of Death Nimrod deck. If we can draw Nimrod, this game is over. So the fact that he wasted his armor as well is kind of not great for him. We also have Destroyer. So if we can get this Nimrod off, would be insane. Nimrod? Oh. This game's over. Because this will keep the Nimrod on there also after we play Destroyer next turn. And we have Shuri. Wow. I might just play Shuri. Gives an absolute monster, but I don't think I can. So I can play Destroyer. And then I can play... onto the Destroyer, I can Arnim Zola it. Giving us 2 Destroyers. Because the second Destroyer will not kill the first one because of the armor on the left. The Cloak could screw us. If he decides to move the armor to the left. I don't think he ever moves the armor though, because he doesn't want those Nimrods to die, right? We would be taking a pretty big chance here. Although we can move the Nimrods. So we could just Taskmaster here. We could do the safe play. And just arrow him. It's not really the safe play actually, because we only have one place to really arrow him. And there's a cloak. I do think Armazol is probably the best play. I doubt he moves the armor to the right. I do like this. And then we just play the Sunspot here. Yep, did not move the armor as expected. The other Destroyer is not created yet, which is why it did not die. So then it puts the Nimrod back. We technically should not play the Sunspot because then another Nimrod would have shown up in Hala after it got killed in Shuri's lab. So we kind of misplayed that slightly. But it doesn't matter. We have so much power. I didn't think we were at any risk of losing. So as you can see, Nimrod kind of cracked. Especially when a good location like Death's Domain, Altar of Death, Rickety Bridge, something like that shows up, Nimrod's really good. Also, if you get any location where you're locked out of a location, it's really good. But yeah, it just adds that extra Shuri. It adds a little bit of depth to where Shuri might have weakness in some games. And really can surprise a lot of opponents that are expecting just classic Shuri stuff when they see it played out. This time we didn't even have to play Shuri out because we had Shuri's lab. We also had Altar of Death for Nimrod. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Make sure you're subbing if you're not subbed yet. If you made it to this part of the video and you're not subbed, you know, what are you doing?